Greetings, everyone. This is Sister Crystal here with Let's Talk Classic Hip Hop, back with another review on Growing Up Hip Hop. This is season 4, episode 10. Let's talk about Sam and let's get to it. Okay, and also I want to give the disclaimer for those of you that might be new to my reviews. I don't review in order of the show in which it was aired. I just only pick out the most relevant parts of the episode, so I may not touch on all of them, but I just kind of do the highlights. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Little Eazy and Jojo in the studio. So Jojo visits Little Eazy in the studio, and I guess it's just for them to kind of do a little more like man bonding or something like that. He just stops by to just kind of chop things up with him, ask him how he's doing and all that. And they get into a brief conversation about children and relationships and stuff like that. And we come to find out that little Eazy-E, the son of the late great Eazy-E, has 6 children with 4 mothers of his children. And that was the way Jojo put it. And I like the way Jojo said 4 mothers of his children. 6 children and 4 mothers of his children, instead of saying baby mamas. Instead of saying 4 baby mamas, he says 4 mothers of his children. I really appreciate Jojo saying it and putting it in that context, because it sounds better than 4 baby mamas. And we've come to in this society, we're just known for saying, baby mama or baby daddy, and it really kind of takes away the importance. I wouldn't say it takes away the importance, but it's just really kind of it's not a compliment, I'll put it that way. I mean, yeah, it's the same thing whether you say baby mama or mother of your child. But to me, saying, the mother of my children or the mothers of my children sounds a lot better than saying my 4 baby mamas. Or and vice versa, the father of my child sounds a lot better than saying my baby daddy. And so I do appreciate Jojo for saying that. And while we're on that note, so Jojo and Eazy-E have their conversation, and he's pretty much asking him, like, when do you think you're going to settle down or whatever? And Eazy-E is just kind of like, little Eazy-E, he's just kind of like, I've been with, I believe if I heard it right, he said he was in a relationship with one of the mothers of his children for, like, I guess on and off for 10 years. And Eazy-E, he's not that old. I think he might be mid-30s, like 34 or 35. His father, the late great Eazy-E, he's been gone since 1995. And I believe at the time when Eazy-E passed away, I believe little Eazy-E might have been 9 or 10 years old. And so that has been 23 years ago. Yeah, that's been 23 years ago. So I guess you do the math. So he has to be about, I guess, 34, maybe about 33, something like that. Still very young. And so it looked like he's followed in his father's footsteps now. The late great Eazy-E, I believe he had 8 children with 7 different women, and he's, really along the same lines of his father, but that's fine. But little Eazy-E was just pretty much saying like, he just pretty much just want to have fun and just want to see what else is out there or whatever. And my thing is, I find it interesting with people who have multiple children, not only people that have multiple children by different women. You know what? I'm kind of picking on the guys a little bit, because a lot of times when it's a woman that has multiple children from different fathers, for some reason the children usually live with the mom for some reason. But on the other side, if it's the father that has multiple women or multiple children with multiple women, those children are living with their mothers. They don't all live with the father. And so, having said that, my thing is, if you a man has multiple children, let's say with the same woman, like I have come, and I'm doing a little sidebar. So I've come across some guys that might have multiple children with the same woman. Like one guy in particular I ran into, he had 5 children with two women. One only had one child, but the other mother had 4 children by him, and they had just broken up or something like that. And I guess he called himself trying to talk to me. And he was like, well, I was like, well, have you ever thought about getting married? And he was like, oh, well, I'm not ready to get married. And I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, you had all these children with one woman in particular, and you're turning around saying that you're not ready to get married. But really, how much do you have to offer another woman? And I am putting myself out there. I'm spilling the tea on myself. Yes, I did feel a type of way about a guy that has multiple children, really even by the same woman, but didn't marry her. And I'm not putting it all on him. Maybe the mother didn't want to get married, but from talking to him, I knew that it was him that had the cold feet. He was the one that did not want to get married. And I'm thinking like, well, I don't know if you want me to become baby mama number 3, but I'm not interested in that. And I did say baby mama, because that's exactly how I felt. I wouldn't say disrespected, but I really am not sure what these guys get out of having children by different women and still not settling down and getting married. To me, you don't have much more to offer any other woman. You've already had a lot of children. You got bottle over here, bottle over there, all children all across town, and some of them have in different cities and different states. I'm not interested in that. And I know there are a lot of other women that are not interested in that. And so even though the guy, he was a nice guy, and I can tell why he had a lot of children. I mean, he was very charming and everything. And a lot of men that have children by multiple women, they tend to be ladies' men. They know how to charm a woman. They're not afraid to approach women and ask for dates. Even if a woman is kind of like, quote unquote, out of his league, they don't feel that any woman is out of their league. They have confidence in approaching women, and they don't mind getting turned down. Where on the other hand, if you run into some men and maybe they don't have any children, or they might just have 1 or 2 children, I find that a lot of those men, they're not as approachable, and they're not really as confident in approaching other women. So that could be why they don't have a bunch of children. And I don't want to come across like I'm generalizing, but I'm just sharing from what, my knowledge or whatever, or my experiences that I've seen with that. So I'm not surprised that, some guys will have a lot of children by different women. But I think that, it's ridiculous for someone that has so many children to turn around and say they're not ready for marriage, because children last a lot longer than a lot of these marriages out here. I'm just saying. So with that, we go to Jojo and his daughter and his mom. They're at a park, and Jojo is spending time with his daughter. And again, the subject of marriage comes up, and it comes up multiple times. And Jojo's mom and Vanessa's mom, I believe it's the same mother, she's pretty much asking them, like, when are you guys going to get married? Because I guess she feels that since she was married, even though her marriage ended in divorce. And I believe she's remarried again. But JoJo's mom is of the mindset that maybe she feels that maybe she failed her children in that respect, because she did get married, but she got divorced. And she's kind of blaming herself, the fact that her children all have children, but they're not married. But, that's not anything a parent can control. Now, one thing that I really was kind of sad that JoJo said was, okay, they show a scene with JoJo speaking with the mother of his daughter through, I guess it's FaceTime or something like that. You was able to see her face up in the corner and all that. And they were talking about the state of their relationship. And JoJo said something to the effect of, well, hey, we're good. We've been together for, I think it was like 8 years. And their daughter looks like she's only like 3. So it seemed like they were together 5 years before they even had their daughter. And so JoJo is of the mindset, like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In other words, the relationship is good now, the way it is now. And he doesn't feel that they need a piece of paper to declare their love. But the way I see it, and the way I believe the girlfriend sees it, is a marriage is not just a piece of paper, but it's a contract. It's a contract. It's sort of like, for lack of a better way to put it, relationship insurance. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that it guarantees that your relationship will stay together. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in the event that the relationship goes downhill and doesn't work out, you as the mom, especially if you had children, with your significant other, or a child with your significant other, that you're not left out in the street, that you're not left out in the cold, that you are in a position that you can pick up the pieces and reorganize your life after you guys break up. But I've seen many of women, and also, there's no such thing as common law marriage anymore. It used to be, before October 1990, if you were, and I believe it was October 15th, 1990. And the only reason why I'm very specific with the date, because I was in a class, like a family law class, and we had to study up about different laws. And one of the things that came up was about common law marriage, and it was a true thing. So in other words, common law marriage meant if a man and woman lived together, and let's say they held themselves out to be married, even though they weren't actually married, if you can find people in the community and family and all that can verify that, yeah, these two were married. I mean, not married. They were cohabitating together, and they held themselves out to be man and wife, or husband and wife, even though they don't have the paperwork, the marriage certificate. You were considered married in the eyes of the law. So you could actually go to court if you were together before October 1990. You can actually go to court, and you guys would have to get a real divorce, even though you guys were never married. So y'all can look that stuff up. I try to do good research and everything. So just don't take my word for it. Do some research to verify what I'm saying. But having said that, common law marriage no longer exists. So if you are living with someone and something happens to your significant other, that family can come and kick you out of your house, kick you out of your apartment and everything. And it doesn't matter if you have a child with the person or not. I've seen a lot of situations where the women were just left with nothing. And even the so-called stepchildren would have been stepchildren if you got married. Some of the children, they may act cordial and act like they like the other woman that's not their mother. But once their father passed away, I've seen stories where children kicked the woman out, and maybe they had been together 15, 20 years. It didn't matter. Now, when I'm saying the children kicked the woman out, obviously these are grown children. So it didn't matter how long the mother was with their father. In the eyes of the law, she was just another woman. She didn't have any legal standing to claim any benefits. Maybe the man might have had retirement benefits or anything like that. You don't get anything. You just get the heck out. That's all you get. So it's not a good thing to remain married without a real protection. And if you really love somebody, wouldn't you want them to be protected if you're no longer here? And that's part of what marriage does. So I totally disagree with JoJo for saying it's just a piece of paper. It's more than just a piece of paper. He knows that, and the mother of his child knows that. And what I hope doesn't happen is I hope they don't, I hope they stay together and maybe they get married if that's what they want, no pressure. But a lot of times a woman could talk about marriage, but they stay together with a man for a long time and then they break up. And then the man moves on, and a year later he's married to somebody and having another child and all that. That happens a lot. And the woman that was with him for 10, 20 years and never married him, even though the woman kept bringing up about marriage, he never married her. They break up. Then a year later, he finds another woman, marries her, and may even have a child with her and everything. And that is the most insult to injury that I have ever seen. But unfortunately, it happens a lot. So I'm saying for the women and the men out there, if you want to, marry a woman and she's putting it off or whatever, and you've been together for a long time, you have to decide: do you want to stay in that relationship like that? You might have to make a move, because you don't want to be in a position where something happens to your significant other and you don't have any legal standing to have any claim to anything. And it's unfortunate, because 9 times out of 10, you probably help that person with the fortune by providing a good home, raising a child, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I don't know how I got on. Well, yeah, I do know how I got on that. But anywho, so okay, so and along the family front, so the next scene is Vanessa and Pep. So, and again, Vanessa wanted to sit down with Pep and ask her what it's like being a single mom. Now, I thought that was interesting, because so far with what we've seen with Pep in this season, she doesn't seem to be like the mother of the year by any means. And no disrespect, but she's been, kind of labeled as she wants to party, and she's always got a drink in her hand and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to say something about Pep having a drink in her hand in the next episode. And I believe after this episode, I believe this is the end of the it's the finale. So the next episode is the finale. I just found out about that. I was under the impression that maybe they had some more episodes coming up, but unfortunately there's only one more episode coming up, and that's the finale. So I'm like, dang, I really hate that. So I'd like to see how they're going to wrap up this season. But anywho, we also find out that Vanessa's mom and Pep went to high school together. Now, I can imagine. Now, I read in Pep's book, which a lot of people, you should check out her book if you haven't, called Let's Talk About Pep. But in her book, she put in there that she had went to an all-white high school in Utah. I don't know if that was Salt Lake City, Utah, or someplace in Utah, when she was sent to live with one of her older sisters for like about a year when she was a teenager. And I believe she was only at that high school for 1 year, and then the family moved to New York. I think it was Queens, New York, and then she ended up going to high school in Queens, New York. So I'm assuming that maybe she met, or it's my belief that maybe Pep and Vanessa's mom met when she relocated with her family to Queens, New York. I don't think they met when she was at the all-white high school in Utah, but that would have been interesting. But I don't know. I thought that was nice to see her. At least try to talk to her about being a single mom. She just told her it's hard work, and you know, really, children don't come with instructions, but do the best you can. It's a struggle, it's a hustle. So okay, so after that, then we go to Pep's house. There's a scene with Pep, TT, Egypt, and Sam. And this is the first time Pep is hearing the song that Sam and Egypt have been working on. And I believe TT has already heard the song, so she's already bracing herself. She believes, or she already knows, that Pep is going to have an issue with the song, because the song, even though it features Egypt, it's mostly Sam. And Pep, as we learn, she's paying for everything. She's paying for the studio time. She paid for the apartment that Egypt and Sam is living in. She paid for the car that Sam is driving. I mean, she's paying for everything. And the one thing Pep wants, which I wasn't really clear early on, that apparently this is Sam is supposed to be working on an album for Egypt. Now, early on in the season, it wasn't clear if what they were working on was supposed to be for Egypt or was it supposed to be for Sam. It wasn't clear, but in this episode, it was clear that Pep was expecting this to be Egypt's project and not Sam's project. So she listened to the song. She liked the song, but she was disappointed that Egypt wasn't featured more in the song. And Sam was like, "Oh well, we're just warming up. We just warming up." And Pep was like, this ain't no warm up. It's supposed to be for my daughter. What are you doing?" But it is what it is. I think maybe that it just seemed like it. The more and more I'm seeing Sam, he does just come across as just the opportunist, and he's taking this time to, they're in the studio, it's already paid by someone else. Why don't he use that to make songs for him? I mean, that's what it looks like, and that's the way it's coming across. But Pep clearly wasn't happy about that, so I'm not sure how they're gonna fix that. So, okay. The next scene, so you have real quick. So with Brianna and Eazy, they meet up in a restaurant. I'm not sure why Brianna is meeting up with little Eazy. I'm quite sure she probably knows. He has 6 children and lots of mothers of his children. I don't know if Brianna wants to be baby mama number 5 or whatever, but I don't really see any. I think it's just a scene. I don't really see any sparks flying between them two, and I believe she mentioned Boogie while she was talking to Eazy. I think just Brianna just need to not entertain anything further with little Eazy. He already has his hands full. And unless she wants to be baby mama number 5, she probably just need to keep it moving from that. Okay, so the next scene, Master P is in the studio with talking to Jojo and little Eazy, and he was just sharing his struggles about his life, really before what inspired him to get into music. Well, part of what inspired him. And he also shared with them an incident that he was listening to a Run DMC tape while he's in the bathtub, and somehow I guess it was a radio that was connected to the wall, and he accidentally stepped on it with wet feet when he got out of the bathtub, and it shocked. He pretty much got electrocuted. That's what it sounded like. Master P accidentally electrocuted himself when he was a young boy by stepping on the cord of a radio that was plugged into the wall. The electrocution went through his body and it came out through his hand. Luckily, I believe he said he was at his grandmother's house or something, that they were nearby and was able to get him to a hospital right away. Or he said he was within minutes of dying, because it sounded like he literally electrocuted his own self. So I'm thankful that people were there. His family was there to rush him to the hospital and get that taken care of. That was kind of like, whew. Okay, so what's the next thing? Okay, so the next scene is the Honor Up screening of Damon Dash's movie. Now, in the last episode, it left off with Dame hugging Pep, and he had just arrived at the it looked like it was like a private screening of his movie Honor Up, and Damon Dash shared that Honor Up is a movie about his life before he got into music. So Damon Dash, he arrives to his private screening kind of fashionably late with his girlfriend, and think he had a dog in tow. He hugs Pep real quick, and as he hugs her, and he keeps it moving real quick, and at the same time, Pep was like, dang. She was trying to get his attention. And in the, they put some, what do you call that? Captions, I'm out. So they called him saying, I'm out. Like, hey, Pep, I got to keep it moving. And she stopped him like, dang. And he turns around and he's like, she was like, I would like to ask you something. I got something I want to talk to you about. And Dame's face was kind of looking like, okay, what is it? And she kind of paused for a moment, and then she goes, what did she say? Why didn't you have me in your movie? And Dame Dash kind of stopped, and he looked, and he was looking like, okay, I know that that's not really what you wanted to talk to me about, but I'm going to play along. And he was like, well, yeah, I did call you. I wanted you in the movie. I called you, but you were on tour. And then the son jumps in, Tyran. So she also said she wanted Dame to meet her son, because that was the first time him meeting her son. And so her son Tyran. And so Tyran jumps in too, and he goes, well, yeah, I'd like to be in a movie too if you have, anything for us. And Dame was like, yeah, sure. And Pep looks, she goes, no, I'm dead serious. I want to be in the movie. And he looks at her and he goes, oh, I'm dead serious too. And so she's like, okay. And Pep, she's a saucy Jamaican. She was looking like, hey, we both know that that's not really what I wanted to talk to you about, but I'm dead serious. If you saying that you will invite me to be in one of your movies, I'm expecting you to invite me. So I don't know. I guess Pep kind of have that presence, like, being her saucy, spicy Jamaican. Like, look, don't be playing with me. You said you're going to put me in your movie. You got to keep your word. And on a side note, it's funny about, and no disrespect, I like Jamaican people. And the Jamaican women, they're something. They're really just saucy and sassy. I'm not really sure what it is. I don't know if it's the culture or if it's their food or whatever. But one thing I know about Jamaican women, they'll be your friend. They're very loyal, but you better not get under their skin, because they're real like, whoo, they kind of scary. And they start talking their own little Jamaican patois, whatever that is. And I'm not sure. The Jamaicans speak Jamaican patois. I think it's broken English and French, I believe. Someone that's Jamaican, I think I have a few subscribers that might be Jamaican. So if you are listening to this, can you let me know like what is the Jamaican patois language? But anyway, yeah, but those Jamaican women, they are something else. They're nice, but they can be kind of crazy. And even if you're not originally from Jamaica, if you spend any amount of time in Jamaica, like at least 6 months or more, you start picking up some of their little sauciness too, you know. But Jamaica is a beautiful place with beautiful people, but those Jamaican women are something, and the men, they're more laid back for some reason. I don't know if the Jamaican men make the Jamaican women kind of crazy or whatever. I don't know, but the Jamaican men that I've ran into, they were really laid back, and they're not into like really arguing and all that with a woman. But the woman, they'll get in a man's face in a minute. So I don't know. But maybe that was just the Jamaican men I ran into. Maybe they're not all like that, and I probably shouldn't generalize. But I'm just saying, I like all the Jamaicans. I like you, but you guys are kind of crazy sometimes. So, anywho, so okay, so I'm glad Pep decided to not bring it up at that time. I knew that was not the right time or place to bring something like that up. So I'm glad she backed away from that and just kept it moving. She will have another time to bring that up for another day. And the last thing I want to point out, so the photo shoot, no, the second to the last thing. Okay, the photo shoot with Egypt. She was doing a swimsuit photo shoot that was set up and paid for by her momager, her mom and manager, Pep. Now, when you see the scene, you see TT, Sam, and Egypt. So Pep was, she hadn't gotten there yet. But throughout the entire photo shoot, Sam was interjecting and putting in his ideas and all that. And you see him, he's, even though they paid for a professional photographer, Sam was right there, and it looked like even at one point the photographer stopped and let him look at the picture or whatever. And on a side note, I actually used to do freelance photography, and my thing is when I showed up to do a photo shoot, if a lot of times I did not like someone bringing more than two people, because those people genuinely want to interrupt and interrupt the shoot. And my thing is, and I know with this photographer for Egypt, that photographer was already paid. So he was more laid back than I would have been. I mean, I guess he was thinking like, hey, I'm already paid. So if you wasting time trying to stop me, and I'm professional, I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to play like, I'm going to play along with you. But as soon as the session, some sessions might last a couple of hours or whatever, you pay for the amount of time that you paid for, and we're not going a minute over. So if you want to keep wasting time stopping the photographer and trying to interject your ideas, do it all you want. The photographer still got paid for the shoot. My thing is, when I was a photographer, when I did freelance photography, my biggest allies were the couple or the model themselves. In fact, I wouldn't get into a back and forth with a significant other, whether it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I would just say, hey, this shoot is for a limited of time, and once the shoot is over with, that's it. I've already been paid, so you can do what you want. And there was no refunds. I'm here, I'm doing the shoot. Once you show up as the photographer, you've already been paid. And so 9 times out of 10, really 10 times out of 10 for me, the model would get their family member together, like, look, go sit down or what have you. I wanted so bad the photographer to tell Sam, look, you need to go sit down or go over there, go somewhere, because he kept stopping. And even when Pep showed up and was trying to give some direction, and some of Sam's ideas seemed like it was good, but by the time Pep got there, she was giving her ideas, but Pep is the manager and Sam isn't. And, she was giving good direction too. But I just had a feeling that Egypt felt that as long as the direction wasn't coming from her mom, she had a false sense of being grown, or a false sense of, I'm doing this on my own. But she really wasn't. She was using Sam to be her mouthpiece, but no one else can be your mouthpiece but yourself. And so it looked like the pictures probably still came out good. But if Egypt wants to be assertive and speak up for herself, she's going to have to do it on her own, and she can't rely on her boyfriend or anyone else to speak up for her. She's going to have to speak up for herself. And so we go from there, and then Pep and Egypt are at home and pretty much talking about the photo shoot and what happened. And Egypt is pretty much telling her mom, like, look, Sam makes me a priority and you don't seem to make me a priority, which she's kind of it seemed like she's kind of right, because Pep she's got so many things going on. She's very busy. I can't imagine that she really has time to put into Egypt's career like she should. And but one thing about Pep though, now before I go there, okay, so there was another scene with Egypt talking to Kendall, and Kendall was telling Egypt how she had to pretty much fire her mom from being her manager. And Egypt is kind of like shaking her head in agreement, like, yeah, what you're talking about sound like it's similar to my situation. She even told Egypt about how she eloped to Las Vegas and got married to her husband, and she fired her mom from being her manager and all that. And Egypt is kind of looking like, yeah, maybe that's kind of what I might need to do. But honey, the one thing is, Egypt should not let Kendall get her in trouble with her mama, because that's Kendall's mama. Your mama is not Kendall's mama. Kendall's mama is not your mother. Your mama, I don't think Egypt's mom is not going to be cool with her just talking about she going to fire her. I don't think so. Now, one thing I hope that might happen is, if Pep really doesn't have the time to put into Egypt's career, that Pep herself would say, hey, I'm going to get an assistant manager, and or just say, hey, I found someone else for you that can manage your career. I'm going to step back, but someone else that's not your boyfriend. Because I've seen that boyfriends or significant others or girlfriends and wives probably aren't the best managers, and parents too. Now, starting out, yeah, your parent is a good way to get your feet in the door, but really what happens is your significant other and your parents don't have the objectivity needed to really give you constructive criticism. So a lot of times they may say yes, or they may overlook certain limitations that you may have because they're your parent or they're your significant other. So in my humble opinion, I think it's better to not have a significant other as your manager. It's better to have a non-interested third party as your manager, so that they can give you constructive criticism and kind of help your career go the way it should. So it kind of wrapped up there. So I'm interested to see what this final what the final episode, the finale, the season finale is going to be like. And I know I had a late start this week, so unfortunately this review may not be posted until after the airing of the finale, but that's still fine. But I appreciate everyone for being here, and yeah, and let me know. I want to put a marker. I'm kind of curious as how far people get in my videos. So if you made it this far, just put dag, I'm trying to think what would I say? Put down your favorite salt and pepper song. So if your favorite salt and pepper song is Shoop, then write Shoop. Or if your favorite salt and pepper song was Push It, put Push It. And I actually got this from another YouTuber. I can't think of her name right now, but I think it's a great idea. I am kind of curious. I know I have some that go all the way with my videos, and I apologize. I go off on a tangent, but I do appreciate everyone who does listen and take the time to give me constructive feedback. You don't have to love everything I do, but I would like to have more constructive feedback other than just, oh, nice video. That's fine. And I appreciate it because it shows engagement on the channel, but I would really love to have more detailed comments like, yeah, I agree with you when you said this, or honey, you're all the way wrong with what you said here. Let me know, or I believe, or I don't agree with you, or whatever. You don't have to agree with me. This isn't the Agree with Sister Crystal channel. This is Let's Talk Classic Hip Hop. So you don't have to agree, but we can respectfully agree to disagree on this channel. So that's all I ask for. So just like, comment, subscribe, put down your favorite salt and pepper song in the comments so I can know how far you got. And until next time, take care.